Hi, everyone. It's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, and today we're here to talk about spreading a little magic with healthy boundaries. Now, before we can figure out how to spread magic with healthy boundaries, we need to know what that magic is. So I just want to take a moment and share a little bit from the blog post that I channeled last week and explain what it is that we're doing when we are sharing our love with the world. So they begin, "Dear ones, the magic the world needs right now, and the one thing you can all supply in unlimited quantities, is unconditional love. Today we want to instruct you in the proper use of healthy boundaries. So many of you want to give unceasingly. You see that the world is in disarray, that there's healing which must be accomplished, and so you commit to giving. You give all of your time, your energy, and your knowledge, and many of you are yet afraid to demand anything of the receiver. Yet we must point out to you that in order for anyone to gain from anything you share, they must be actively receptive. A person who is actively receptive is participating in the process of receiving. They're doing their best to be receptive to what you're sharing. These people represent the fertile ground where the seeds you plant will flourish and bear fruit. Those who are participating will do something with what they have received. They will review what they have learned. They will take steps to correct the behavior that's causing them pain and difficulty. And they'll be grateful that you've spent your time and energy educating them about practices and behaviors that will enable them to move forward with their lives. These are the individuals who will go out with their newfound knowledge and share it with others who are struggling. And these are the followers you wish to cultivate. Change begins with those who are actively receptive to new ideas and new ways of being." Now they go on to address particularly those of us who are exhausting ourselves trying to bring the energy of unconditional love to everyone and everything, because that's where so often we get into trouble. So they say, it is this behavior, the behavior of exhausting yourselves, that we wish to address today, the harboring of your energy so that it is used wisely and to good effect. This does not mean that you pick only a select few upon whom you show kindness. No, you extend unconditional love to all of the time. However, if you find that your efforts are being rebuffed or rejected, or that the person on the receiving end is constantly asking for more, even as they refuse to give anything in return, then you are in need of boundaries. A healthy relationship between any two parties requires a give and take, and not just giving and incessant swallowing. Everyone has something to give, and everyone is entitled to receive. This is the way of harmonious balance. The give and take between any two people may not be perfectly balanced all of the time, but there will be a balancing out over the course of the relationship. A relationship that is not balanced over the length of its existence is parasitic and unhealthy. It states that you're not engaging in self-care, that you're not allowing yourself to receive, or that the other party feels they're more worthy of receiving. Perhaps the other party feels they have nothing to give. But this is false, for all are capable of loving acts that cost nothing in the material sense, but do require an expenditure of emotional capital. When you're confronted with a person or a relationship that insists that you must either give everything or that you're incapable of giving anything, it's time to reevaluate why you're willing to participate in such an obvious falsehood. Yes, you're expected to share unconditional love with the world, but no, you're not expected to be abused for your kindness. That's the thing that I want us to understand so much. As light workers, a I can't even come up with the right word, sort of a mystique has grown up around the idea, well, if you're a light worker, you should do everything for free. You should take any kind of abuse that's heaped on your head. You should just give and give and give and give and give, and who cares about you? Mm-hmm. That is so destructive and such a force for the dark. But let's look at that a moment, and then I want to hear from all of you who are on the call and answer questions so that we are really clear and we're really going in the same direction with this. So, yes, we have to share and give unconditional love to everyone unceasingly. But we do not have to be abused. So when somebody says to you, well, give me everything that you've got that you may have spent years developing or much money creating, give it to me because I don't have anything, and because you work for God or because you're a light worker, you should be willing to just give it away and be happy that I've given you the privilege of giving it away. This is just abusive. It's another way for the dark to manipulate you and to keep you down. If you give everything away, whether it's financial or whether it's just your own energy and time, at some point, there's not going to be 1 ounce of you left. And that's what the darker energies, the energies of chaos and confusion are counting on. If they can get you in a state where you feel that you must give everything away and they need to give nothing in return, at some point you're going to be drained and exhausted and you're going to want to give up. And if you give up, that's one less loving being in the world. Last week, we talked about the law of accumulation. And I just want to touch on that again. Every emotion that we put out is contagious. Love is contagious. It will spread throughout a room extremely quickly. But a bad mood or a sour person is just as contagious. So when we're working with the law of accumulation, and we know that even the smallest acts begin building on each other, we want to remind ourselves how quickly emotions can take off. You know, if we're in a crowd and there's someone who's angry or shouting angry things, and that crowd is not well grounded and has not placed themselves in that high place of love, joy, and peace, they grumbling of one person, the anger, the pushing, the shoving, the rage that they're expressing, can quickly turn that crowd into a mob. And then violence can ensue and terrible things can happen from that. Or just think about the way that gossip spreads. It may just begin with a little tiny idea, but everyone whose ears are open to receiving it begin adding to it until it becomes something absolutely huge. Conversely, we look at love, and we know that any time something wonderful happens and there are people around that are seeing this wonderful thing happen, you can feel that love swelling through the room. You can feel the joy, you can feel the excitement, you can feel everyone expanding. It may turn into cheering. It may turn into some sort of celebration. But you can see that the people have gathered up that love and added their own to it, and it has grown even bigger than the amount of people that were there. The lower vibrations exist to keep us in a place of fighting and survival. The higher vibrations of love, joy, and peace put us in a place of genuine caring. That's the place that we want to stay That's the place that we want to live. But at the same time, we don't want to allow ourselves to be caught up in the game that if you are a light worker and you want to share unconditional love, that you have to give until you're exhausted. They just let you off the hook by saying, if people are not participating, you can choose to move on to someone who is interested in participating. And I think that's exactly what they said. Hold on, let's see. Go back to that blog for just a moment. So they tell us, learn how to set healthy boundaries and to use the power of discrimination by first and foremost connecting with Source each and every day. Establish a giving and receiving relationship with Source so you yourself are constantly being filled and renewed by the unconditional love from the Creator. You cannot give continuously without being filled first, and we desire that you give only from an overflowing well. Recognize that your first responsibility is to yourself. This may be in direct conflict to everything that you've heard, but it is absolute truth. If you do not put yourself first, if you don't practice self-love and self-care, they will take you out. Not even on purpose. Some people just can't get the idea of how to love themselves, and so they latch onto someone else, asking them to do it for them. But that is parasitic, and you will end up exhausted. So you must respect yourself enough to show yourself the love and compassion represented by unconditional love. Stop the negative self-talk, the critical words, and the harsh judgments, and instead bathe in the adoration of the Godhead. They see all of you, the faults, the areas in need of improvement, and the failures, but they also see more. They see the tender heart, even if it has been hardened by pain. They see the potential, even if it has yet to be fulfilled. And they see the struggle, even if it's only you refusing to get out of your own way. And they want you to become everything you desire. They want you to fulfill the promise of who you are. And they know the fastest and surest way for this to happen is through unconditional love. Therefore, shower yourself with loving acceptance and simply refuse to entertain negative and self-critical thoughts. And then they go on to advise us that there will be those that are unwilling to enter into a balanced relationship with you. Understand that the balance is not always 50-50, but it is always give and take. Remember, everyone has something to give. If you cannot do it financially, you can do it with emotional capital or your time. If you find that you're constantly forcing acts of kindness on others because you feel obligated to do so, we're here to inform you that you're off the hook. Instead of continuously trying to shower the unwilling with love, cast your seed of unconditional love onto everyone and everything. When it's received and an effort is made to reciprocate, double your efforts. You've found fertile ground. If your advances are rebuffed or taken for granted and you're not treasured or treated as valuable, move on, recognizing that you've planted a seed and perhaps it will grow. Perhaps the next loving individual will water that seed, and perhaps the receiver will become aware of and appreciate the gift they were given. But you cannot devote all of your energy where it's not welcome. Remember, they have free will just as you have free will. And so they can refuse to receive your love. When someone is ready, an unconditionally loving being will appear in the path to help them grow. Then when they have blossomed, they will be the helper for the next person. Thereby creating a larger and larger pool of unconditional loving energy. When there is more love, it's easier for all to access, and even the most reluctant may be tempted to get on board. Energy spent on the unwilling drains you and decreases the supply of unconditional loving energy that is available to all. Energy spent on the receptive brings more love into the world and makes more love available for each and every one. Begin with the willing, and the reluctant will follow when they're ready. So I hope this has helped you let yourself off the hook a little bit. First of all, recognize that no one can get away with the excuse, I have nothing to give. That is a falsehood. They just blew it right out of the water. Everyone has something to give, but they may not want to give. So they're using an excuse. Well, I don't have any money to give. Well, you have your time. You can give your emotional capital, your attention. You can take what is being shared and try to contribute in some way. But that's being actively receptive. And some people try to use the excuse that they have nothing and can give nothing as a way to make you do all the work. And they don't want us to be engaging in those relationships anymore. We are entering a time of cooperation, and we need to remember to keep our focus on cooperation. Do not let the parasitic energies attach to you and tell you that they have to be here, because without you, they would do something ridiculous. It's okay to get tough and say, I've given you everything I can give. Now you must give something in return. Start using some of this information that I've shared with you. Stop trying to extort me to help you further and not even take the first step to help yourself. So for all of you with these big hearts that are doing everything you can think of to help other people and oftentimes feeling like you're getting squashed or stepped on, it's okay to take a step back and reevaluate. Now is the time to look seriously at your relationships and say, okay, I feel that this relationship is great. The people in this relationship with me, or the person, is doing their best to try to offer something in return. Or you can look at other relationships and say, you know, every time I'm with that person, they're asking for something else. And they have never once asked me how they could help me. They always have their hand out, and yet they're never willing to participate in any time that I may need assistance. Use your powers of discernment and understand that it's okay to back off. It's okay to say, I've done all I can. And even though I'm going to continue to shower you with unconditional love, and you can do that from a distance, I'm no longer going to be your go-to person every time you need something done or you want to receive something. So let's take a look at how you can spread unconditional loving energy from a distance. Well, one of my favorite ways is to create in my mind's eye a blanket of pink and gold light and to wrap it around the person that's hurting. I don't have to know the person. I don't even have to know who it is that may be hurting. Sometimes I just weave blankets of pink and gold light and I throw them out and I say, whomever is needing energy at this time, loving energy, supportive energy, whomever is needing any kind of healing at this time, please receive this energy of unconditional love. Of course, whenever I see somebody who really appears to be needing help, I am happy to throw a blanket of love over them. Now, here's another thing that came up. It was just presented to me the other day. It's not really a question, but it's a situation, and I think we need to address that for a moment. What happens when you come up against the grump-a-lump person? Let's say you're at the supermarket and you're checking out, and you try to be all smiley and engaging, and the person doesn't even want to look you in the eye. Well, you're only in that supermarket checkout line for a few moments, so you're not really expending much of your emotional capital by continuing to be pleasant or sending a smile or wrapping that person in a blanket of pink and gold light. That's not a big expenditure, and you may be the only person that has spoken nicely to that person all day. You don't know what their day has been like. But remember that sometimes the reason that person is being grumpy is because you've got some unhealed grumpiness in you. So we're never going to judge the other person and say, oh my gosh, that person was such a pain in the butt. They wouldn't even look me in the eye or smile at me or acknowledge me in any way. That makes me so angry. Or I'm never going back to that store. When you're engaging in that kind of dialogue, it sounds very defensive to me. It sounds as though you're trying to create a reason why you were not responsible. That's usually an indicator, just like that little, when your stomach does that kind of little flip, that little check in your system, that's usually an indicator that that's an unhealed part of you, and they are simply mirroring it back to you. Now, if that clerk is a grump and it doesn't affect you, you just immediately cover them with a blanket and you keep smiling and you keep feeling wonderful, staying in your high vibration, you probably have healed that area. That's just them. But be on the lookout for those times when you find yourself reacting negatively to someone else, because that's an opportunity to get in there and do the healing work on yourself, so that the next time you come up against that clerk, you can keep showering them with unconditional love, and maybe this time you will get them to smile. That's our goal, to share as much love and joy without allowing the other person on the other side or the other people to bring us down into their negative vortex. We don't want to allow people to drag us down where they are, but we want to do everything in our power to help them climb up to where we are. However, as I said earlier, if you feel that they are exhausting you or constantly taking from you, you have permission to simply walk away. You don't have to stay in for the long haul and get exhausted or risk the chance that you're going to be pulled down into their negativity. Okay, so I'd love to hear questions. Doug, do you want to share? I heard you earlier. Anything that you'd like to share with us about unconditional love or any of the experiences that you've had as one of those loving beings that's always giving? And hold on, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, yeah, I got to take it off mute, I suppose, and turn my telephone in order.
That helps.
And hello, everyone. And thanks kindly. If it's too noisy where I am, I could step inside because there's some people doing a yard next a couple of houses nearby. Can you hear me okay?
It sounds great right now.
So it's real tough. It's been real tough. witnesses, though, because absolutely there needs to be no destruction on earth, and every life is sacred. Bottom line, period. And so, thanks for the free phone call today too, and the help. I have had in my life tendency to say thanks for who I am and what my being and my good, and just been too thankful in my life, and not really accepted my rights and my gifts, and what things are actually mine and that belong to me.
And Doug, let me stop you there for a moment, because that is such a brilliant point. That is so brilliant, and I don't want that to get away from us. Too many light workers are constantly apologizing or being so ridiculously thankful to other people when they have done the work. Oh, thank you for accepting me. That's not gratitude.
Yeah.
That's self-deprecating. Thank you for allowing me to serve you. That's not self-loving. So, Doug, thank you for making that incredibly brilliant distinction. When we are constantly, it really adds up to apologizing for being alive. Thank you for allowing me to help you.
Exactly. And it's not anything we have to apologize for.
Exactly. You're doing the work.
Or even say thank you for, or even say thank you really for. I mean, it's good to be gratitude, but
that's not gratitude. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's why this is so brilliant. Thank you, Doug. This is brilliant. Gratitude is thank you for something that I receive or for something that I have. But what we're doing is saying, thank you for allowing me to exist in the same space you do, as though you're not good enough. And that is a trait of givers that has got to be stopped. The givers are just so used to giving and giving and giving, and not recognizing that they are an incredible force and should be revered, that they get in these weird relationships where they're believing that they have no value, and the value comes from the other person allowing them to wait on them or do things for them. So thank you, Doug. That is not gratitude.
Indeed.
That's
it's tough, yeah.
Yeah, and you'll find yourself doing it and suddenly wake up from it and say, what am I doing? I'm valuable too. It's a way of stating, I have no value, you have all the value. Abuse me, take advantage of me, do anything you want to me, and I'm still going to be grateful. That's not real gratitude. Okay, so Doug, continue. But thank you for that brilliant distinction.
Yep, sure. You're welcome. Glad to.
So getting back to getting back to your point, which was you find yourself getting ensnared, I think, in relationships where you're more of the giver.
Yeah. Yep, and never allowing my right, basically, like to have received, to to be able to go to the grocery store. It's like, oh, thank you, I get to go to the grocery store and I get to get groceries. Thank you, yay, and I get to, I don't know. I've been way too. I've been stretched down to the ounce, last ounce. But I'm all right. I'm good. It's a beautiful day.
You are fabulous. But the only thing that I want you to do is recognize that you're worthy and that you're valuable and you are deserving. So
I am valuable. definitely. I am worthy. Yes, I am.
It's wonderful to say, thank you for letting me go to the grocery store. It feels great. It's not okay to say, to be groveling and say, I don't feel that I deserve to have food. I'm so grateful you found me worthy of nourishment. That's not okay. Perfectly okay to say, hooray, I can go to the grocery store. It feels wonderful. That is,
Yeah.
I'm worth it, I'm valuable. The other one is, I'm an ant, and you're the big giant, and if I'm nice to you, you may give me permission to go to the grocery store. No,
And
that's,
eat today.
that's you tearing you down. And remember, we have to allow it. If we've got to give permission for these people to treat us in this way, that's why we've got to start being aware of those relationships that are parasitic, that are not okay, and be confident enough to say, I don't need to engage in this anymore. Be self-loving
and
enough.
all the respect that you deserve with that too.
Absolutely.
Comes right with the freedom.
Absolutely. But understand that they can't treat you any way they want. They can treat you only in the way that you give them permission to. So when you're giving away your power, you're still incredibly powerful. But one thing that our society forgot to teach us was that we don't have to be victims. We are actually giving that bully or that abuser permission. We just were never taught that. We were taught, lay down and let people walk on you if you're a nice person. Show that you really care by letting someone take advantage of you. How about this?
One of the old ones too is go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Marcia, no.
I was just going to say, how about this? Hey, I don't give you permission to take advantage of me, to treat me badly, or to treat me with disrespect. So if that bothers you, you don't need to be in my life. Because I no longer sign up for victim school. We've got to stop signing up, giving permission, and those of us who know, please share the word. We want to educate as many people. This is not victim bashing. You are absolutely a victim if you don't know any better. But
I am a victim school dropout.
Good. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And spread the word.
I just dropped out
last
week.
Excellent, because nobody needs to go to victim school anymore. We now understand.
Quit that shit.
Absolutely. We now understand that it's our thoughts and our free will that says yes or no to this behavior. Well, if you don't know that, of course you're going to continue with that same old pattern, and yes, you will be a victim because you'll attract someone who will jump in there and be your abuser. So my desire is to get the word out. Hey, you're powerful. You can make a choice.
Well, I don't know. I do not right now know how many more people are on this phone call, and I'd love, certainly, too, it's your call, Marcia. But to hear anybody else, because I know there are a lot of people. However, and I hope you got a lot of people on. I really appreciate and so, but what I'm saying, the thing with respecting your elders, it's like for so long, like I fell into, let me respect my abuser. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Fuck that.
Brilliant.
Don't respect your abuser. Your abuser does not deserve respect. Nothing. They don't. It's not. It's and it falls in line with one of the old adages. It's like respect your elders. Well, look at our elders and look how our earth is today.
Well, that's very true. And here's something that we can do. If someone
Not that everyone is an oppressor, but yeah.
Yes, but if someone is abusing you and you are related to them or need to stay in a relationship with them for whatever reason, you can do long distance. You don't have to go running over to where they are and get in their face and give them an opportunity to be abusive. And if they try to abuse you verbally, you have the right to say, that is not acceptable to me. Why don't we have this conversation at another time? It is perfectly okay to walk away, to get away, to hang up the phone. You don't have to get angry. Just state it really confidently. That really doesn't sit well with me. I need to end the call. I have had an individual in my life that was like that, and it was a family relationship, so I felt obligated to keep a tie there. One day they started off, and I said, I'm not going to talk about that with you. I will talk with you about anything else, but I will not discuss that. They chose to hang up on me. It was fine with me, but I didn't get angry. I didn't feed in. Their anger was such that they had to hang up. Either way, I got off the call, and I didn't go down into their negativity, nor did I let them dump it all over me. So that was one of my proudest moments of saying, hey,
Marcia.
I did it with class.
I know.
Okay, I'm going to call on David because he's had his hand raised for quite a long time. So, Doug.
Roses always smell better. Thank you.
Thank you. Your comments were brilliant. David!
Hey, Marcia.
What can you, the biggest heart in the world, well, you and Doug are who I both know personally and have seen those hearts in action.
Mm-hmm.
You with your big hearts, I know that this is probably a subject near and dear.
Oh, yeah. I love what Doug was talking about. He's totally correct. I think most light workers feel that way. But it's what I've noticed is that sometimes we forget how strong our light is. And people get confused because we trigger them big time. And sometimes we think they treat us badly because, no. I think they most of the time they treat us badly because they see, we trigger a lot of stuff in them they don't want to be, connected to.
Another brilliant comment. Wow, you guys are blowing it out of the water today. Yes, let's look at that. Okay, here comes David, and he is shining brilliantly, and he gets into the line of
the supermarket.
Susie. Yeah, I'm just trying to give the person a name. Susie, and Susie has an abusive husband who is constantly telling her that she is worthless and she wouldn't be anything without him. So here comes David shining incredibly brightly, and she can feel this warmth starting to come around her. And is her reaction going to be, oh, good? I'm so delighted that David is in my line? Or is she going to become defensive and angry because it immediately taps into her self-worthless program that has been so incredibly drummed into her by this verbally abusive husband. So that is another great point. Sometimes you're shining so brightly that people who are not ready or are feeling their own sense of worthlessness are going to be reacting badly to you because they feel they can't measure up. And another thing that often happens is they feel that you may be judging them. I'm not where David is. I bet he's going to look at me and see me as worthless.
Oh, okay.
One of the things that I generally do in order to jump that creek is I will begin the conversation and say something nice about them, something genuine that I have noticed about the person, so that they're not on the defensive. They're already feeling it's okay to respond to me because I see them as something good. So that took me a while to figure out, but then I realized, hey, if I'm the one that goes first and I say something lovely about what they're wearing, how they look, what they're saying, something that they can relate to and feel good about, they're much more likely to kind of let me slip in there and wrap them up in that blanket of love and be receptive to what I may be offering than if I force them to make the first move, smile, statement, and they're not feeling the kind of love that I would hope that they would be feeling. So again, use your power of discernment. If you see them pulling back a little bit as you approach, try bringing them into the conversation by saying something nice about them or coming up with something pleasant that you can say. If they're still backing off and you don't get any kind of sense that it's because of that it may be coming from you, from an unhealed part of you, then, perhaps just share a smile and move on, or wish them a good day. But do your best not to be pulled into any of their negativity. That was the hardest thing for me to learn. I would like to come forward with a big smile and a kind of big welcoming presence. And if it wasn't received, I was still too tenuous in that place of love, joy, and peace. And they were able to pull me out. Then, what am I doing wrong? They don't like me. Maybe they see something wrong with me. Big, long, and, then I joined them in their negative place.
Yeah.
So do your best to anchor yourself really firmly in that place. And you might even be selective in the beginning. If you're in a grocery store and you've got a choice of checkout lines, you might just want to hang back and look and pick the one where the teller is actively smiling or seems to talk with the people, and that will get you stronger faster because you'll have that love returned. So anytime, go ahead.
Yeah. What I notice a lot is that I think people, with me at least, is that they, because I try to be unconditional love all the time, and and to radiate love all the time. But I think a lot of people are scared to feel that kind of love, and they mistake it with like I'm harmful in some way.
Yes. Now, and that's slowly changing.
I know.
But, so in the meantime, when you get that kind of response, just keep smiling. Just try to be as innocuous as you can. So I wouldn't, because I'm female, I can go up to another female and say, oh, I love your dress. That is such a beautiful color on you. And she's not going to think that I'm flirting or trying to establish a romantic connection. If you were to say that, it may not be received well. So you might have to be really careful if it's an opposite sex kind of thing, because, yeah, people are a little worried or feel a little spooked when they're not used to receiving unconditional love and someone says something nice to them. So you might have to dial it back a little bit, just smile or talk about the weather. Just, keep it pleasant, but give them only as much as they're able to receive at any particular time. You might have to feel it out a little. And I'll give you a good example. I have a friend who said to me, oh, the people in this town are just so shallow. And I thought, they are? Huh. And I realized that was her experience. She had had a bad previous relationship with a person who was in the same profession as the person, as these shallow people that she was talking about. And she was a little raw from that relationship. And suddenly, everybody in that profession was shallow like this other person had been, or was out to get her in some way. So remember that sometimes a previous experience with someone else could make that person be feeling a little odd. Because I was thinking, wow, they are? I have some of the most incredible conversations in the checkout line with the stock person. We talk about angels. I think that there is a lot of depth and breadth in this town. I've seen very little shallow. Now, I didn't have that relationship with the person that she had, so I didn't have a bad previous experience to be playing off of. So I brought my experience of, gee, I've had lots of wonderful conversations. So when I enter an engagement, it's generally with the excited expectation that I will have another good conversation. She was bringing the disappointment from her previous relationship to the table with her when she's meeting someone new, and then that colored her interpretation of what they were saying, just as my experience was coloring mine. So remember, those people that are a little put off by you may have just had an icky experience with somebody who was not genuine. So when you're approaching, you may want to just kind of put out your feelers and see how much they're able to receive, and act accordingly. If they're really shy and frightened or easily take offense or tend to twist things around, probably not a great relationship anyway, but certainly somebody that you would want to sort of soft pedal the lovey huggy kind of stuff. I mean, I tell you guys all the time, oh, I'm sending you a hug. I love you so much. Because I know you're not going to take it as a romantic overture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not meant that way. But if I felt that someone was leaning in that direction, I get much more serious, much more professional. I keep some distance until they have realized I am not interested in any kind of romantic relationship or chatting adventure or whatever it might be. I am simply here to share what I know and to help those in need. So yeah, I hear you.
But Marcia, you're smart. You you posted a picture together with your husband, so they know. So
yes, that's true. I keep thinking, everybody keeps saying, you really should just post yourself. I said, you know what, that's going to open me up to all sorts of nonsense that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm already getting people that I'm thinking, did you miss it? Yeah. Exactly. Did you not see the other person in the picture with me? Yeah, that definitely has helped cut out some of the people who are not respectful of boundaries.
Yeah. For me, it's a little different because I'm single. But I'm flirting just a little, but I know what I'm doing for sure.
Okay.
I hope.
Well, just let that spirit of discernment go first.
Yeah.
So
I do
it's
that.
okay to come on like, hey, that was, you're really fabulous. And then gauge their response and then use that response with your spirit of discernment to see, is this somebody that I want to move forward with? Do I want to explore a deeper relationship? Or am I feeling a little weird? Because sometimes I notice when somebody first contacts me, either professionally or personally, it will feel great. And then a few weeks in or a few interactions in, it starts to get a little weird.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning to kind of give everyone the benefit of the doubt at the beginning and then start sending out my feelers of discretion before I let it go too long to see, are we going the same direction, or is this going to evolve into something that I really just am sorry I ever started?
I know we have to, right?
Yeah. So yeah, go in being David, get the response, and then just kind of, send out your energetic feelers. Is this going to be a positive relationship for me, or is this person masquerading as something that they're not?
Most they are.
Yeah, unfortunately, the internet has brought us all together, which is lovely, but it's also allowed us to masquerade as something or someone that we're really not. It doesn't even have to be our picture that gets posted. If you really want to be devious, there are a million different ways that you can do that. That's why your spirit of discernment is so important. But I would definitely give everyone the benefit of the doubt going in.
Exactly. I try to. And
then, you can always pull back as you see their reaction. Just don't let it go on too long. That was one of my big mistakes. I kept staying in there, trying to find that good, trying to make it better. It is okay. And remember,
it's a huge job for all of us, I think.
Well, remember what my helpers explained to us. It is a way to make you totally ineffective. Don't give all of your energy to that one person that you're never going to change or affect in a positive way. It's okay. Just be satisfied you planted a seed.
Yes.
It may be on completely barren ground and it just will get blown away. That's not your fault. You don't have control over what their soil is like. But maybe it fell into some rocky soil.
Yes.
And there's a possibility that somewhere down the line, the love that you shared with that person will begin to blossom and grow.
Yes.
That's why, throw it out there, but don't lose your common sense and be quick to use your power of discernment as they respond, or if you're just getting a weird feeling.
Yeah. I think being honorable is one of the most biggest rules in these types of cases. Be true. Don't fool yourself and be honest.
Yes, I had somebody contact me. They were offering me a service, and at first I thought, "Oh, hooray! The angels brought this person." And I responded, "Yes, I'd love to have a conversation with you." And I wasn't able to arrange the conversation. I was too busy with work, and so it took me quite some time to have a time available to devote to business as opposed to working with clients. And during that time, I kept feeling pressured, pestered, kind of getting annoyed. And after that initial, oh, hooray, that spirit of discernment, even though I didn't really think about them again and none of this sort of harassing kind of behavior had begun, I was just feeling a little off, and I kept trying to ignore it. I kept, we love to do that. It's okay. I just kept trying. Now, lovely person, we're just not a good match.
Mm-hmm.
They have a great service. We're just not a good match.
I know. We're being tested every day, though.
Yep.
By these types of people, and it's up to us to make good discernment of what fits with us and what doesn't.
Yes. This particular individual offers a wonderful service. It's just not the service for me. Mm-hmm. And I think he could feel that I probably wasn't going to hire him, and that made him uncomfortable. And so he was trying even harder to be nicer and push me a little more. And that made me even more uncomfortable because I didn't want to hurt his feelings because I felt like his service was really good. I just didn't want it. Yeah. And it was hard for me to say, I don't think I want to work with you. Mm-hmm. And I never really could say that. I beat around the bush a lot and told him I thought he would do really well and his service was great. I just wasn't ready. Because I just couldn't hurt his feelings. Awfully nice person, tried to be so helpful. Mm-hmm. But the more he showed me, the more it was clear that, no, this is not what I want. And then I felt bad because I kept taking more and more of his time because he kept trying to show me more and more good stuff. So that was an interesting encounter. I probably should have listened to my gut telling me this is not going to go the direction you want it to go, and maybe I wouldn't have felt so bad if he didn't spend so much time with me, because I did feel guilty that he had shared his time with me.
But we are just nice.
Yeah. I felt like, well, I've told him that I was interested. Now I can't back out. Mm-hmm. Oh, now, and every time I said, oh, that's interesting, let me think about it, he had something else to share. And I just couldn't find a way to say, oh, and it just seemed everywhere every area that I was already strong in, he wanted to work in that area. And every area where I was weak, he was also sort of weak. So it was just not going to be a good match. But a wonderful person.
Mm-hmm.
Just
we learn as we go, right?
Yep. Right. I didn't need somebody to be strong and where I was strong. I needed to work with somebody that could be strong where I haven't figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, David, as you go forward, being that incredibly bright light and that wonderfully loving presence,
Mm-hmm.
remember to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Self-care.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I want you to ask yourself is this loving to me?
Mm-hmm.
Is this making David feel better? Or is this just trying to be nice to the other person?
Yes.
If it's not loving to you, it's okay to pull back and allow someone else to step up. We are not responsible for everyone. And I know with that big heart, this is really going to be a tough lesson for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll probably be challenged almost every day with this until you really get to the place where you're automatically saying to yourself, is this good for me? Am I getting anything of benefit out of this relationship or this way of sharing? Or am I feeling as though I'm being drained? There's no shame in admitting, hey, I've set up a relationship that is really draining and I need to get it out.
Sometimes you do have people that want you out of the way.
True. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear myself again. If they're pushing you away, it's okay to respect that and say to yourself, for now, I'm just going to close that door, and whenever the time feels right, or whenever that person is ready to meet me in a giving and taking relationship as opposed to a just taking from me relationship, they are welcome to knock on the door, to open the door, to come right in. Doors don't always have to stay shut. But it's okay to shut a door and give yourself some peace and a chance to regroup if it's become untenable.
Yes.
Or even if they've showed, hey, you know what? I don't want you in my life. It's okay. They're not ready. I spent so many years beating my head against the I'm not ready door, wanting so desperately for them to open it. All I did was get bloody knuckles from pounding on the door.
Oh, yeah.
And they weren't ready. It's okay. Or I wasn't the right person to introduce them. I was taking it personally. I wasn't where I am now. I was taking it personally. It became an ego battle. You have to,
Yes.
because my feelings are getting hurt.
Yes.
So, watch that ego that can sometimes get in there. And, just say, hey, why am I in this relationship? What am I doing this for?
Mm-hmm.
I doubt with you, though, with that big heart, that ego is really the problem. I think it's just you as a giver are still not great about letting it be okay that some people are not going to be able to receive and you get to walk away.
Yes, exactly. I hear you.
Life is interesting, but we're all growing, and that's the wonderful thing.
Yay.
That's the wonderful, fabulous thing, is that every day we expand in whatever direction we choose.
Yes.
And we can always choose it to be a good direction.
Yes. Big applause for us.
All right, everyone, we are over our time by a few minutes. So those of you who stayed to the end and have been wonderful, faithful listeners, I thank you. To my two participants, I thank you so much. You know, and I'm just going to say, I had a question that kind of broke my heart. I'm going to mention this even though we are over time. A gentleman wrote in and he said, in the past, when I was in school, I was always receiving praise from my teachers because I had really good grades. Now I'm not receiving much of anything because I don't have anything to give. That really tore my heart up.
Yes.
But let me leave all of you with this. There will never be a time in your life when you have nothing to give. You just have to realize that you as a person are valuable and you can share your smile. You can share your time and your love, even if you do not have physical possessions to share. It's not about the finances. Sure, it's great to have money to share or to spend on things that you would like or to buy gifts. That makes us feel great if it's done with the best intention. But you can always be a loving presence in the world and help someone else have a brighter, happier, lovelier day. So with that being said, I'm sending my love to all of you everywhere. Thank you for being here and for sharing with me. This is Marcia Martin. If you're interested in more about this program or any of the classes or private and group counseling that I offer, please go to my website, marciamartin.thehearthealer.com. It's Marcia spelled M-A-R-C-I-A, Marcia Martin, thehearthealer.com. I thank you all, and we're done for today, but I will see you next week.